Big first weekend of official visit season for our Michigan State football Spartans. What are the names that we have to know going into this Saturday? Well, Ryan Bennett of Spartans Illustrated drops by to lend all of his information. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you so much for ending your week with us here at Locked On Spartans. Your team in green and white, 5 days a week, except that's about to change. I'm so sorry. We just have to have two notes here before we get into our chat with Ryan O'Blennis. With June rolling around, we're going to drop down to 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And also, hey, here's a bonus. Might already be breaking that rule next week. We might have 4 shows next week. But yeah, as the summer goes along, just June, July, count on 3 days a week, but it could get up to 4. And if it's a really busy week, then yes, we will be doing 5 days of shows. But just wanted to have that as a programming note moving forward, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Anything else? A nice little bonus from your old pal, Matt of Locked On Spartans. Note number 2, we got into it with Ryan O'Blennis. Yesterday, we pre-recorded this. He went up and down the list of everyone visiting this week. And then about an hour after recording, Henry Hasselbeck, quarterback out of Massachusetts, 3-star kid with offers from Boston College, Pitt, and Michigan State. He will also be visiting this weekend as well. So just wanted to make sure we added that to the list of names we're about to go through. And yeah, if that last name sounds a little familiar, no, you're not crazy. That is indeed the son of longtime NFL quarterback and NFL analyst Matt Hasselbeck. So yeah, hey, some NFL pedigree blood coming to Michigan State this weekend, but certainly not the only talented kid. Let's go learn more about the names with our guy, Ryan O'Blennis. We are about to just throw ourselves into official visit season. It's a very exciting time because, well, up to this point, recruiting for the 2024 has not been too loud, but the Spartans are trying to make some noise here. We're going to pick Ryan O'Blennis' brain about this here in a hot second. But first, I suppose I should be nice and ask how you're doing. Ryan, welcome back to the show. How you doing, man? You doing okay?
I'm good. Always a pleasure to be here. Kind of looking forward to seeing how this month shakes out. So it should be fun.
It's a big one. It's going to have to be a big one for Michigan State, who's already falling behind in recruiting. But again, we got how many months until signing day? There's a lot of time left. And, well, a good way to get the ball rolling is with strong official visit weekends. We got the first one coming up. And Michigan State is starting off with a bang. We have a nice list of 4 stars here. Do you just want to take us through all the names that you know that are coming onto campus for this first weekend of June?
Yeah, so it is a, kind of a very impressive list. Throughout the month is a very impressive list. I think that this first week, though, is especially important. There's, that there are a lot of key targets coming, a lot of top prospects, but not only that, prospects who are higher rated, but also have good relationships with Michigan State where they feel like, attainable prospects. It's not all the 5 stars and the hype like, maybe you saw last year.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, so, and then just kind of to note here, Justin Denson and Mario Buford, defensive backs, cornerbacks, they were planning to be here for this weekend, but sounds like that's changing now. I know Denson had another obligation come up, so he's looking to reschedule his Michigan State official visit to later in the month. But he also has Florida and Oklahoma visits coming up too, so he's still working that out. Buford was, he was supposed to be here this first weekend, but our Nebraska site over at Rivals Inside Nebraska reported that now he's going there this weekend. Okay. So he seemed to confirm that with his quote tweet. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but it doesn't sound like he'll be in East Lansing this weekend. So be curious to see if he's able to reschedule that one or not. But as for the prospects who will be there, you got tight end Eric Garner, who is, he's pretty underrated right now. I know that he's going to be in line for a rankings bump whenever the next update comes out. And Michigan State is still in need of a tight end, obviously, in this class and a lot of other positions. But
yeah, right.
he's a a very skilled tight end. And he was previously committed to Purdue. He decommitted from that. He released the top 5 that Michigan State was included on, but there's some steep competition with him with Iowa, who's obviously like a tight end factory, and he had Alabama and other schools on his list. So I think that that's going to be important for him to get to campus and see how they can kind of roll out that red carpet for him and see if they can make any headway here, because I do think that he's going to end up being one of the better tight end prospects in this class. Then you have some California prospects coming out.
Yep.
Several 4-star linebacker Dylan Williams. He was out there for the Spartan football kickoff spring game, and I think that visit really meant a lot to him. Like, I don't know, he didn't have Michigan State in his top schools initially. He came out for that weekend on April 15th, and I talked to him afterward, and he was just very impressed with everything that MSU was doing and what he saw. And it didn't take long for him to schedule this official visit. He was originally supposed to be coming out the second weekend of June, and then he ended up moving that up for whatever reason to this first weekend, I think just so that he can kind of fit in some other schools and get all his official visits done. But he is one of the top linebacker prospects in the country, and not only linebacker, but I think he's like a top 30 or 35 prospect overall in the whole 2024 class. So
gotcha.
Nice. And he's like a top 5 outside linebacker. He tells me he wants to play inside linebacker in college, but either way, really good prospect. And then, joining him out from California, a couple of receivers, Kwazi Gilmer and Jordan Ross. I know that Ross is also going to be at the Wayne State Showcase on Thursday, headed into the official visit. So hoping that I can connect with him there and connect with him after. And both of those two are really talented receivers out there from the West. Gilmer is a kid I haven't spoken to a lot, but he's going to talk to me after his official visit. I'm going to kind of get to know him a little more, see how it goes with him. But he's a really impressive prospect. He's 6'2", but can also, he's got the size, but also can stretch the field. Is a problem in the return game. He's very, very talented, and same with Ross. And then, Brauntae Johnson is another receiver from Indiana who's coming out. Also a very skilled player. He's going to have kind of his pick of the litter of where he wants to go. I think it's important that Michigan State's getting him out for an official visit because, again, that's a really skilled player that, I think they would love to add to their offense. He's, I think some schools might even want to recruit him as a DB just because he's very multifaceted. He's an athlete. But Michigan State likes him as a receiver, as far as I know, last I heard. And, outside of him, you have Marcellus Barnes come in. He's a defensive back from Tennessee. After he got offered in April, I talked to him, and he told me that he loved what Michigan State was doing and that he was planning to get out to East Lansing to check it out. So it sounds like he's going to get that opportunity this weekend and, see how he likes it. It's another really talented kid. You have a Florida commit come in and running back Kahnen Daniels, who, I don't know necessarily that Michigan State.
Yeah.
What's that?
Great tape on this kid. I mean, I think he's dynamite. So if they can get Kahnen Daniels somehow, pull him away from Gainesville.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say no necessarily. I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, I think that's going to be tough to do to get him away from the Gators. But, yeah, I agree with you. If you watch his stuff, it seems like, every play is a touchdown or a big play. And he just is able to make things happen. So that's another kid I haven't had a whole lot of conversations with yet, but I'm hoping to kind of catch up with him afterward and see how it goes if I can get a hold of him. But, obviously Michigan State needs a running back or two in this class, and, he'd be a huge addition, but obviously getting him away from Florida is going to be tough. He's still going to be taking his Florida official visit after MSU, but just the fact that the Spartans were even able to get him to campus, I think kind of bodes well. So if they're able to make an impression, maybe things will change. I don't have high expectations there, but still, it's a really talented kid to bring out here. And, hopefully they're able to, like I said, kind of make an impression on him, see if they can move things along. Like you said earlier, signing day's a long way away. Who knows what will happen? But
right
for now, I'd say he's still off Florida. You also have another safety, a defensive back coming in, Rydarius Morgan. He's out of Alabama. I think he lives pretty close to Auburn, and he's, so I don't know necessarily. I know that Auburn's had him in for a couple of visits. He might be planning to take an official there later. Not sure on that, but, it could be tough to kind of get him out of that area if, he is high on Auburn and Auburn's high on him. But that's another really talented defensive back. Like I said, all of the kids they're bringing in this weekend seem like, they could eventually be good college level players. Some of them could even end up being difference makers. So I think that, he's another one that I'm watching out for, but I'm not entirely sure, where he stands with Michigan State and vice versa. But again, after the official visit, I'll talk to him, I hope, and kind of get a better feel for him.
And we will be right back with our guy, Ryan O'Blennis of Spartans Illustrated here in a hot second to learn more about this weekend's big names. But first, I need to talk your ear off about FanDuel Sportsbook. It is America's #1 sportsbook in the land. If you listened to yesterday's episode, you would already know that Michigan State basketball, that's right, a lot of buzz going on around those Spartans. 15-1 to win the national title over at FanDuel right now. And also, that's not to mention all the NHL action, all the NBA action, all the MLB action. Let's not forget about golf, my personal favorite sport to bet on. It's going on over at FanDuel Sportsbook. And if you're a new customer, that gets sweeter with a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. Gang, that's right. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, there is no better place to bet all the action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get that no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's right. I'll say it one more time. $2,500 in no sweat first bet. That is at FanDuel.com/lockedon. It's FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
And then, of course, you have a couple of commits coming out this weekend as well. Jaylen Thompson, four-star cornerback out of Tennessee. He's, right now he's the leader of the class. He's the highest-rated kid in the class, and everything. I've seen him at a couple of camps now. I've talked to him in person. He's a great kid, has a great family. I think he has all the makings of being, an eventual lockdown cornerback for Michigan State. And other schools are still going to try to go after him, but as far as I know, he's still only planning to OV at Michigan State, and it'll be huge for the Spartans to get him back on campus, reiterate everything with him. He's locked in right now. Again, you never know what could happen, but, he's all green and white, and that's big for MSU. And then Logan Bennett also told me that he's coming this weekend, offensive line commit. He's a kid who doesn't really like to publicize things. He kept his recruitment pretty quiet and committed after the spring game. But he kind of told me that Michigan State was just the right fit for him. He's got a good relationship with Coach Cap, the offensive line coach. And that's kind of, why he wanted to be there, because he has such a strong relationship with him. And he's a kid who plays a national schedule. So he's already going to come into, to Michigan State to the college level and be used to kind of that higher level of competition. Obviously, it'll still be a jump upward. But, that's one thing that MSU likes about him. So, I think having Thompson and Bennett there to kind of help recruit some of these other kids who are going to be there on campus during the weekend, that'll be big for them. And hopefully they're able to help, lead some kids in the right direction for Michigan State's sake. But, the other perhaps visitor is Xadavien Sims. I don't know.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
That's
coming or not. Yep. Obviously, the day before he committed to Oregon, he announced his official visit to MSU. So, and then, after he committed to Oregon, there were some reports and rumors that he might cancel all his other official visits. I don't know if that's going to be the case. He hasn't gotten back to me on if he's coming or if he's not coming. So, if Michigan State can get him out there, I think, he's obviously still a kid that they would like to recruit, even though he's committed. And, obviously they've been building a long time relationship with him. So but like we talked about, there's a big difference between being a verbal commitment and a signee, right? Especially in today's day and age with NIL and all this stuff. And so, obviously right now, Oregon is where he's at. He's locked in there, but we'll see if Michigan State can still try to push.
It seems like the drama then going into this first weekend is Sims going to step foot on East Lansing soil, or will he not? But even if he's not coming there, you also mentioned that the top two guys are either canceling or rescheduling their visits. Regardless, still a good crop of kids coming this weekend. So I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Let's just treat you like you're an NFL GM. You are the GM of Michigan State, and you get to sign 3 of these kids. Of the kids that you just named, what 3 would you for sure want wearing the green and white if you were a Michigan State fan in 2024?
Now, are we counting the ones who are already committed or not?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Okay. So obviously we'll want to sign those 2, make sure they come in.
Okay.
But I think, really, like I said, really any name on this list, couple of them, even if you can get them to commit and sign, I think all these players are, going to eventually be these, good college players or eventual difference makers, or, at the very least, they're going to be good depth pieces that are going to push your players in practice and make you better. So I know it's kind of a cop out, but I would really take any of these players. But if I'm choosing one to add with the 2 commits, for me, it would be Dylan Williams. Like I said, he is a top 31 or something national recruit. He's out from the West Coast, so it's never easy to get those kids to come to East Lansing, especially after they've seen what winter's like over here. But and I know UCLA, he's high on them out there, and I think he's taken his official visit there already. He's got a few other ones lined up, so it's definitely not going to be easy to get him to commit and eventually sign. But he's a great football player, a great kid. And he, I think he would be one of those kids who's kind of, an eventual leader. I think he is somebody who would fit really well into Michigan State's defense. Obviously a lot of the time there's only 2 linebackers on the field. Scotty Hazelton experimented a little more with 3 linebackers a lot more often last year. But, like I said, that's what I was kind of talking about with him, is that a lot of people list him as an outside linebacker, but he sees himself more as an inside linebacker. So he would be, and he thinks he'd be a good fit as either that kind of Mike or Will backer on the inside in Michigan State scheme. So, for me, for my money, that would be a huge get. That would be the kid that I would want to add with those 2 who are already committed.
Gotcha. And I'm going to have to go with something about Brauntae Johnson, just fascinating. Really any of the receivers that are coming up, like Jordan Ross, Kwazi Gilmer as well. And of course, Nick Marsh is coming, but later on in June, but we'll talk about him more as his, not just visit date, but commitment date comes a lot closer. But man, there's a good crop of receivers coming in this June, and what a fantastic first weekend to get it kicked off with that trio right there. I do want to pull out one name, and this is a kid that, already has committed, and you referenced, kind of keeps it quiet here about his whole recruitment, and that is one Logan Bennett. But you are one of the people that have been inside of his camp. You've actually been able to talk to him. What drew him to Michigan State, and just anything else about his recruitment that fascinates you that you just want to point out?
Yeah, so I think it is, it's not something that you see very often. Is a lot of times today with everything that goes on with how college football has changed with NIL, with the transfer portal, with social media, with, these mega TV deals, everything is out in front of you, in your face. These kids want clout, they want recognition, they want social media interactions, they want to expand their brand so that they can get, big NIL deals. And all. I'm on board with all of that. I get it. But for him, that wasn't really any kind of driving factor for what he was looking for in a school. I'm sure he's still going to have NIL deals and whatever, but he's really just seems like a kid to me who wants to come in, work, put his head down, make the team better, get better around him. He told me that he just felt like it was a really good program for him, and he likes all of the coaches, like I said, especially Coach Cap. And he's also close with other members of the staff, like, for example, Jacob Lale, who is Coach Cap's kind of assistant offensive line coach. And, he visited, I think he took an unofficial in late March. And, I think that kind of just sealed the deal for him. He wasn't on campus for the spring game, but he did commit that day.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And, he said basically like he feels like, Coach Kapilovic and Coach Lale and stuff, they just kind of take time out of their day to talk to him about who he is as, not only a football player, but also a person. And I think that really kind of resonated with him. And he just feels like they're also good coaches who are going to develop him. And, if his ultimate goal, like most players, is to get to the NFL, he feels like Michigan State, Coach Kapilovic, Coach Lale, those are the guys who are going to get him there. And like I said, I think that it's rare when you see a kid like this who isn't all about just like social media and clout and things like that. But I also still think that, he's kind of an underrated player who's going to be, eventually. It's always hard to project offensive linemen, how they're going to play in college, right? Because they're going to get a year or two of strength and conditioning, get a lot bigger. Are they going to keep their same kind of athleticism that they have now? Obviously, when you're one of the top high school linemen, you're dominating all these high school kids who are, just worried about going to math class. At the college level, right. It's a little bit different. But I think that, like I said, because he plays that national schedule, he plays at St. Francis and Baltimore, and they play teams like IMG Academy, and they travel and they play the top schools around the nation. So, that's something that's really going to prepare him. They like his toughness, his kind of nasty streak that he has when he's on the field. He's in talking to him a couple times on the phone and whatever. He's a pretty quiet kid, but he's very smart. He's really somebody who I think, can step in, can be a good, I think he's probably projected to play on the interior, probably as a guard. He said he could play tackle if he wanted to, but likely a college guard. And I think, a couple years after he gets on campus, he could be one of those difference makers in the trenches. So, yeah, it's like I said, a little bit different with him, but it's not anything that's a bad thing. Like, honestly, I respect it a lot. It's just that he's, wanted to keep things a little more on the down low and just come in and do his thing.
Right on. And Coach Cap just seems to be on a hot streak right now as far as offensive line recruiting goes. But you know what? There was a lot of great information, a lot of great visitors coming this week, and everything just seems great. But Ryan, it's time to flip the script right now, because on Wednesday afternoon, that's right, it's time to shout about game times and channels, Ryan, because, yes, the networks, they dropped some early game times for our Michigan State Spartans. And, hey, you know what? We got some good news. Let's start this thing on a high note. Let's keep the greatness going. Michigan State's home opener versus Central Michigan, 7 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. MSU versus Richmond, 3:30 on Big Ten Network. Maryland at Michigan State, 3:30 p.m. as well. And then MSU at Rutgers will be at noon later on this season. But, hey, you know what? For the first month, if you are a season ticket holder and you love yourself some tailgating, these are great times because there are no noon kickoffs. Now, the game in September that we did not mention just now, let's go to I'm calling it bad news for now, unless you can change my mind, Ryan. Washington at Michigan State, top 10 Washington, that is. It's going to be one of the best home games this year. It is going to be one of the best games in the country on that date in week 3. At Michigan State, 5 p.m. on Peacock. Only on Peacock. No, just because you're local doesn't mean that it's going to go on your NBC affiliate. Just because you're in the state of Michigan doesn't mean that you're going to get to see them on Channel 4 like you always do. No. This is the Big Ten media rights deal now. We are all subscribing to Peacock to watch Washington MSU at 5 p.m. Just like... What? I know that everything in the world is predicated on money now. I'm not stupid. I'm not naive. Of course, that's the way that everything goes these days. But God, stupidly enough, I thought that we'd wean our way into streaming only games. I thought that, hey, maybe the Richmond game would be on Peacock. Just something to wet your whistle. And then next year and the year after that is when you'd really start seeing those big games. being on streaming only platforms. But Ryan, here we are. And I do also want to add this. Sorry, cut you off. This isn't a Michigan State specific thing. Michigan, a big, powerful brand name Michigan, their first game of the season also streaming on the Peacock as well. So this isn't just Michigan State bending over backwards. I doubt they had any say whatsoever in this, but just the way of the world now. Ryan, I'm done ranting for now, unless you want to stoke more flames, because this is it's upsetting, but it's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as you. I know why the move is made. Obviously, the goal is to drive subscriptions to Peacock, owned by NBC Universal, and that's, I guess, how everything is shifting toward these streaming services. And, I guess a lot of people don't even have cable now, so they might only use streaming services. But still, I feel like, the majority of football fans, they want to watch a marquee game like that on broadcast television, on Fox, on NBC, and CBS, which were, of course, the networks who are in this new Big Ten media deal. And what I don't get either, though, it just seems like you are taking so many ratings away from your station, so many ad revenue dollars. What is it? Purdue versus Syracuse that they chose that week instead for the NBC game?
Yep. And must see TV on that one. Yep. Can't miss that game.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that aspect of it. I understand people are probably going to be upset at this. Like, not everybody has Peacock. You have to pay extra for this. People are, like you said, people might just be subscribing simply to watch that game and then canceling. And, is that really a great business model for them? I don't know. I mean, maybe they bank on people who sign up and then forget to cancel afterward. But, it's really interesting. I was not expecting that at all. And then also the 5 p.m. kickoff time, that's weird.
Interesting. Interesting.
So, that doesn't, with Washington coming over from the West Coast, that's not really, a 5 p.m. start's not really going to affect their body clocks too much. So, I mean, that's definitely interesting. I don't necessarily agree with it. Like, we both said, I understand why the move was made, but I mean, that just feels like a game that should be on, CBS, on Fox, on NBC, something like let people watch their teams. Michigan State fans, Washington fans are going to be highly interested in that. I don't remember what the ratings numbers were for last year's matchup, but I think they were really high, if I recall correctly. And so just kind of a weird decision.
There's not a lot of great games that day. I think it's Georgia versus South Carolina. I think it's the same day, and then Penn State versus Illinois. But like, it's not like it's a competitive week for big games going on. And like the thing I'm bummed about, like, look, of course, it's just a nuisance having to subscribe to a subscription streaming platform, something like that. And hey, what's always really reliable and never crashes? Streaming platforms. So like, God forbid, something goes on that week during the game. But it's also just a lack of exposure too for Michigan State, because how many times do me or you or anyone listening say to themselves on a Saturday, hey, my team's not playing right now, let's see what's on ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN, Fox Sports 1, just flip around channels. I'd reckon a lot of college football fans have said that. Do you know something that not a single college football fan has ever said in the history of their lifetime, and probably won't for a few years? Hey, let me get off my cable package right now. Let's just throw on the Peacock and see what game is on. Like, it's only going to be the Michigan State fans and Washington fans watching this game, unless you are like the sickest of all puppies and just like really, really need something to watch or have some heavy gambling action on it. But yeah, it's just the ease of just flipping through channels back in our old days, Ryan. They're gone. They're gone. And it's happening a lot quicker than I'd like it to. It's not fun. It's not fun.
And I've seen, some Michigan State fans making jokes about how Michael Penix is going to tear him up anyway. So maybe it's a good idea. It's not on regular TV.
Might be something to that. There might be something. But let me be angry.
Necessarily agree with that. I mean, I think Penix will have, throw for a lot of yards like he normally does, but I expect a much more competitive game this time around. So
I hope so. So that's just the old man yellow cloud thing again, because there is a lot of good news for this. Like, these are some pretty fun kickoff times for the rest of the season. It's not all horrible, but it's just that glaring, oh great, got to pay. I don't know how much it is for the Peacock. I will learn in September, because hey, I'm one of those suckers that NBC is preying on. They could have this at $80 a month, and I'd probably still fork over the money to pay for just 1 month. But yeah, it's It's the sign of the times, and I just really wish it wasn't, Ryan. So that's where I'm gonna end my misery here. But hey, Ryan, thanks again for hopping on, bringing us through all things recruiting, the official visit weekend, number 1 of many for the month of June here. So anything you want to shout out before we let you enjoy the rest of your week?
Yeah, come check us out at Spartans Illustrated on Rivals. Subscribe. It's going to be packed month of June with official visits. We're going to have recasts. We're going to have previews. We're going to talk to kids, be on top of all the commitment. So come check us out.
There we go. A lot of great stuff always happening at Spartans Illustrated. You guys are the best. Now go enjoy the rest of your weekend. Love you all.